Welcome back to the Wellness Reimagined, the show where we blend science with soul and turn I know what to do into I actually do it. Today we are talking about a word that sounds like a stock market chart but is really your whole life trajectory. Where you are headed, what's quietly steering you, and how to course correct before you wake up like, wait, how did I get here? My guest is Rich Ashton, and Rich brings the rare combo of real world grit and systems thinking. Over a 45-year career owning small businesses, he got tired of the classic leadership trap. Hire outsiders who took great on paper but don't fit the culture, or promote your best people who are amazing at the job but not ready to lead yet. So Rich built a leadership development program inside his own company. It worked so well he has able to retire and hand the reins to the team he grew. He also wrote the book Growing Your Own, which is basically a practical playbook for developing leaders in small businesses, minus the fluff and the buzzword soup. Rich, welcome to my show. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you, Shreya. I'm looking forward to it.
And when you say improving the trajectory of your life, what we are really measuring, is it outcomes, daily choices, identity, energy, impact, or something else?
Ooh, I haven't been asked that question. I like that. I'm a believer that when I develop leaders, the first thing I want to know is what's holding them back. So sometimes it's personal issues that affect their leadership style, and typically all of us have uh, self-imposed ceilings. We've been taught that we can't do things. We've been taught that we'll never be a leader, we'll never be a manager, that we need to accept where we are. Maybe that came from our parents, maybe it came from our peers, maybe it came from being slapped around in the business world. But once I can identify what that is in an individual, then I feel like I can change the trajectory of their life, obviously with their help. So it does impact their personal side, but my goal always is to make leaders out of them, and that impacts their business life as well.
That's really wonderful. And if someone feels stuck but can't name why, what is the first signal you would have them to look at this way?
Well, it's a frank conversation, and it has to be held one on one, basically, so that people feel free to share their limitations. In most cases, they don't know what their limitations are. But my most recent company is a heating and air conditioning company, so I'm dealing primarily with blue collar employees who were taught that their job is to install things or repair things. Uh, they might think that one day they'd like to advance into a leadership role, but they don't know what that entails. And so once I can get them to think bigger and think what a leader in their case really means, and what the simple terms of leadership are, then we can really start on an upward trajectory.
I love that because I think it reframes growth from big dramatic transformation to small strategic steering. Like, we are not trying to become a whole new person overnight. We are just trying to stop driving the check engine light on. I,
Yes,
so
our strengths are it everyone's strength is his or her individuality. And just because I lead in a certain way, it doesn't mean that you'll lead in that same way. We want to tap into the things that make you strong, and we want to use those. So your personality is going to be different than my personality. Your ability to connect with people is going to be different from mine. It's fine to be different. But there are some common leadership principles that you can't violate, but individuality should be celebrated, not stifled.
yes. And also, you leave the leadership dilemma up close. Outsiders may bring experience but miss the culture. Insiders have the culture but may lack leadership skills. What is the real cost of getting that decision wrong?
Well, the real cost is failure. I've failed in both directions on that decision. The real problem with bringing outsiders in is that small businesses are are unique. They all have a unique culture. If you're talking about a company with 5 or 10 employees, they're working long hours. They're all doing 7 or 8 different things every day. It's a to the outsider, it looks like a very chaotic environment. So if you take someone who is classically trained in leadership and management from a large company and bring them into that environment, they're going to immediately be frustrated. And then the existing employees are going to wonder, why am I taking orders from somebody who doesn't share our enjoyment of being in the trenches? And then on the other side, if you take a great employee who is not prepared for a leadership role and elevate them into that role, you're likely to lose a really good employee because they're going to fail. And then the final problem with all of that is that because life in a small company is so hectic, the owner founder doesn't have the time to train people in leadership. And it was only after I was able to step back a little bit that I had the time to commit quite a bit of my time to raising the leadership level of others.
Yes. And also, if a business is listening right now and thinking we are bleeding people, what are two culture signals that scream, fix this before you scale anything?
Another great question. So I believe that culture is based on shared values. Um, I've had some success establishing those core values in companies that I've owned, and then insisting that everybody get on board. We may all interpret them a little bit differently, but we're not going to violate the core principles of the company. That's where your culture comes from. If you have 5 people pulling in one direction and a sixth person that wants to violate some of those cultural rules, they just need to be gone from the organization. It's very hard to get somebody, um, I guess, indoctrinated or get them in line with cultural values. But it's absolutely critical that everyone get on board with the same basic cultural values in a small company.
Yes, I think that's such a CEO level truth because I think culture is not just vibes, it's the operating system. If the operating system is glitchy, every new hire is basically another app that crashes.
That's 100% true. We studied a book together on the leadership team called "Start with Why" by Simon Sinek. It's a pretty popular book, and it didn't change the way we looked at our company, but it allowed us to crystallize our thoughts about what we were all about, why we were in business, how we were going to do business. And so our statement coming out of that book is we're going to provide exceptional levels of customer service through support and empowerment of our employees. And every decision that we make in the company, whether it's a hiring decision or purchasing a software or changing the way we do business, the first question is, how does it affect our why? Will we enhance customer service or will we diminish customer service in the interest of efficiency? If it's the latter, we're not going to go that direction. We look at that through AI all the time now. In our business, AI has become very much customer facing, and we're inundated with opportunities to use AI to interact with our customers. We feel like at this point, AI is not as good at interacting with our customers as we are, so we have rejected that advancement. On the other hand, we use AI and have streamlined our processes, and kind of the back office operation is very much dependent on AI. Had we not had the clear understanding of who we are, who we want to be, I think that decision would be more difficult.
Absolutely. And also, let's talk leadership development without turning it into hustle culture 2.0. What does healthy leadership growth actually look like in day to day?
Well, I would say that there are 4 or 5 principles that, in fact, I highlighted them in my book. The first one is accountability. The second one is proactivity. The third one is communication and really connecting with employees. And the last one would be the desire for innovation, which is brought about by a program of seeking knowledge. I think of all of those, 3 of them are understood better than the last one. The lack of intellectual curiosity in lower level managers is very, very damaging. And if you're not on a program of educating yourself, you're going to fall short, far short of your of what your ultimate goal should be.
Yes, that is so true. And also, what is one simple practice you use that helped people build confidence and decision making muscles without drowning in pressure?
I would say that my greatest strength is connecting with people. And I encourage others to do the same thing. Every person in my company, and actually every person in my life that I interact with, I have a little bit different relationship with each one. So we may connect around their children, we may connect around um, sports, but we're going to connect around something other than business because when you really know who I am, and I'm very transparent with employees, when you know who I am, you're much more likely to be influenced by what I say. If you think I'm one of those guys who preaches one thing and then acts another way, you're not nearly as likely to follow me. So I think um, being real and really connecting, going 2 or 3 layers deep with your employees is the foundation of leadership.
Yes, because promotion should not mean congrats, here's another anxiety for you. We want leaders who are calm, clear, and consistent, not high performing stress machines. And
Oh, that's absolutely right. And we talk in the book, I talk about the weakness of an emotional leader. If you lead through emotions, you're going to fail. And we like to take emotions out of it. Emotions lead to stress.
yes. And also on this show, we reimagine wellness as strategy. In your experience, how much of leadership is skill and how much is nervous system, mindset, and emotional regulation?
As I said earlier, leadership in a small business is different from leadership in a big business. In a small business, you wind up doing a lot of different things. Um, I would say that mindset is probably the most important of those things that you mentioned. Um, there is a mindset in a small business that regardless of what the issue is, we're going to figure it out and we're going to get to the end of this tunnel without failing. Sometimes in larger organizations, failure is more of an option. In a small business, failure is not an option. And it I just think starting every task without fear and with an understanding that together we can get this thing done, I think that's the mindset that makes small businesses successful.
And also, if someone wants to improve their trajectory fast, what is the highest ROI habit you have seen, something that actually sticks?
Well, as I said earlier, I think you have to have a program of continual education. You will never figure out things on your own as well as you can figure them out when you read and listen to podcasts, read books. I was lucky early in my career to have someone recommend that to me, and I've never stopped. It's a source of great joy, and it not only makes me a better leader, it makes me a better dad, it makes me a better grandfather, So I think the pursuit of intellectual curiosity can't be underestimated.
I'm obsessed with that framing because people love tools, but tools don't work if the person holding them is dysregulated. Uh, that's not a woo, that's just so real. And also, like, here is a gentle challenge. Sometimes I have potential is just a polite way of saying I'm avoiding the hard thing. How do you help someone move from intention to execution without shame or self attack?
Well, it's their choice. I like to give inexperienced leaders different tasks to do, and those tasks are tests um, about how they're coming along. It allows me to evaluate their progress. So if I delegate a task to you, we're going to have a real clear understanding of what my expectations are. You'll either meet those expectations, fail at those expectations, or fall just a little bit short. In any case, we're going to talk about it when you're done, and we're going to talk about where the improvement needs to come. Um, I guess if you feel shame at not accomplishing it, that's more of an issue on your side of the table. I believe that when I'm very clear about laying out my expectations, we agree on a timeline, we agree on what things are going to look like when you're finished. Um, I don't mind if you don't finish the task successfully. I mind if you're not interested in finishing the next one successfully.
That line is really amazing. Really, really amazing. And what is one practical step for someone who keeps waiting for clarity when clarity might only show up after they take action?
Um, wow, let me think about that one. That's a hard one. I um I believe, as you can tell from this interview, I believe in honest conversations. And I would say that if you're not gaining clarity early on, you need to ask enough questions to get on the same page with whoever you're looking to as a mentor or as a leader, a boss. I think too often people don't ask enough questions on the front end, and then both parties are disappointed in the outcomes. So if you don't know what's expected of you, if you don't know what's possible, then it's up to you to ask somebody who can give you those answers. I hope that's the right answer to your question.
Yes, that hits because clarity is not always in a lightning bolt, it's often a receipt also. And like feedback is really essential, I think, for everyone, but it often triggers defensiveness. What helps leaders to receive the truth without collapsing or counterattacking?
Well, I think there is a kindness factor to leadership that's important. And so I think the first approach is with kindness, but there also needs to be an understanding that at some point, the kindness goes away. We're not going to allow repeated failures. We're not going to allow laziness. And we're going to identify what's holding you back. And we're going to deal with it honestly and directly. So, again, if you choose to be offended by that approach, then my approach is not one that's going to work for you. But it's an approach which, if you are willing to buy in and you're willing to be vulnerable, transparent, and if you're motivated, we're going to wind up at a much better place once you've been through the program.
So true. And like, thank you for giving this advice. And also, what is one question a leader can ask themselves in a high pressure moment to cut through the noise and the fear?
I think every leader always needs to be aware that the number one cause of failure in leadership is fear. Fear of making a decision, fear of a hiring decision, fear of a firing decision, fear of a change in product, fear of a change in marketing. And if you are making your decision because you fear failure, then you're not understanding your role as a leader. The role of a leader is to be as prepared to make those decisions as possible, but with the understanding that you're going to fail, you're going to be wrong. I would my guess is 25% of the time. I think that's probably my error rate. Now, when you fail, your job is to quickly do a course correction and get back on track. But you can't make subjective decisions over and over and over again, like a leader has to do, without expecting that you're not going to be right 100% of the time.
That's amazing. This is truly, truly amazing. Thank you for all your advices, for sharing your experiences with us. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
The website for the book and the training course is growingyourown.net. I am easily reachable by email at rich@growingyourown.net. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc., but primarily through the website and through email.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find you easily and get in touch with you because you're truly, truly a wonderful and so knowledgeable person. And to all my listeners, here's your mini challenge for the week. Do a 7-minute trajectory audit for 7 days. First, ask yourself, what did I do today that moved me 1% forward? Second, ask, what did I do today that quietly pulled me backward? And third, choose one micro shift for tomorrow. One boundary, one habit, one conversation, one decision. No perfection, just direction. Because your life doesn't change in one moment. It changes through the small decisions you stop negotiating with. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with one person who has building a life for a business and feels a little stuck. If you are a leader, a founder, or someone trying to grow your own confidence, drop a note about what better trajectory means to you right now. And Rich, thank you for bringing the real world wisdom and the practical playbook energy. And to all my listeners, keep reimagining wellness as your strategy, not your reward. You don't need a new life, you need a cleaner direction and a smarter next step. This is Wellness Reimagined. I'm Shreya. See you in the next episode. And do not forget to hit the follow button, subscribe, and also feel free to share your thoughts because your ears deserve premium content. Thank you.